up, fam? It's Musashden. I feel like lately my videos are steering into the complaint department that a lot of speed paint artist channels go into, and why not? The world really sucks right now. Like, it sucks this year. Shit's on fire, Kobe and his daughter died, killer bees, the plague, tons of dead black people, racism, and on top of all that, Congress is dragging their feet on giving US citizens a second stimulus check. That's legit a ton of stuff to complain about. But I don't like wallowing in misery. I know, a monotone nihilist like me, according to my family, all I do is complain. I can't help it that a great many things displeases me. I'm not going to be some quiet dummy keeping quiet when people's shitty behavior, shitty books, and shitty movies piss me off. If they don't like it, they can ignore me like they do half the time. And you, viewer, don't like it, you can click off. Your back button ain't broke. That being said, rather than complain about things I hate, I'm going to talk about stuff I actually like in this world. Animated movies in particular. As of this moment in time, these are the top 10 animated films I have seen in my life. In the future, I might see more. In fact, I watched The Frozen, Zootopia, and Coco after I made this list, and they get honorable mention here because at this point, Pixar is just stunting on everyone else. Frozen 2 was better than the first, and now that you hate me for that opinion, let's get into the list, huh? It's great. Alright. Starting with number 10. The Great Chipmunk Adventure. Out of all the Alvin and Chipmunk movies, and I mean all of them, even all those terrible, weird live-action ones where they miscast Dave as a hillbilly with no inflection, The Great Chipmunk Adventure that came out in 1987, yeah, and it shows in its animation style, but the animation is super fluid and pretty. The music, unlike the new movies, is original. Not just chipmunk versions of popular songs of the time, which horribly dates those live action ones, live action in air quotes. But I'm pretty sure like that alone makes it better than the live action movies, except Wooly Bully. Pretty much that was put in there for the adults watching the movie with the kids in the 80s. Simon is at the peak of his cynicism in this movie. He's the only person that questions why two main villains are sending two groups of children around the world in hot air balloons. Of course, the answer is to smuggle drugs and money. In fact, all the characters were their peak selves in this movie. Dave will never be gayer. Go watch it. It's great. I used to have the soundtrack on my first iPod, and Diamond Dolls was always in my top 25 most listened to songs. Diamond Dolls slaps, or whatever the fuck kids say nowadays, but it's a great song. Like, just go watch The Great Chipmunk Adventure. Number 9, Howl's Moving Castle. The very fact that I always catch this movie at a different part every time and I am always totally engrossed in it until the end speaks volumes about it. Sure, Studio Ghibli always puts out great stuff, but there's just something about Howl's Moving Castle. I love the magic of that world. Plus, in the English dub, Howl is voiced by Christian Bale, and that was before he went crazy during Terminator Salvation, so it's still okay to like him. Ghibli never half does anything. Their animation was always great. Even something as simple as cooking eggs in this movie is crazy nice. It makes you want the food. I wanted some of that cigar that the witch was smoking because she was just like puffing deep on that shit. I was like, damn, I want some of that cigar. It's like, I want to swim in the starlight water. Even, you know, just even being in the castle as it falls apart is amazing. Looks amazing. The sheer amount of clutter in air quotes, in the background is amazing without it being bothersome. If you want to know what bothersome clutter looks like, watch the live-action Alice in Wonderland. Ugly CGI, brown, busy crap just everywhere in that movie. Plus, plot-wise, it's pretty standard. That old chestnut of being cursed and all the stuff you have to do to break said curse. But where the plot is kind of meh, the animation fills in, and that's what makes it a great movie. Number 8, Beauty and the Beast. The original 1992 animated movie, of course, not that dead horse of a live-action snooze fest that they came out with recently. I can hear the groans and cries of, she had Stockholm Syndrome from here. Yeah, no, she didn't. If she did, she would have fallen in love She would have fallen for him while he was still an asshole. He bettered himself specifically for her and ultimately sacrificed himself for her happiness. That's why she fell in love with him. Shut up. And that right there is what makes this my favorite Disney movie. The prince is not a liar. He doesn't fall for the first chick he comes across that can hold a note. Plus, the best part is that Belle isn't a child. Seriously, all the princesses... Seriously. Like, just all of the princesses up to her are like 14 years old, 16 years old or so. Snow White is something like 14 or 12 or something when that rando prince kisses her in her sleep. Like, I know it was a different time, but come on, that shit's creepy. The artwork in Beauty and the Beast was a step above anything else from that era, and you can fight me on that. Number 7, Titan AE. I know I definitely hear the groans now. How on earth do I think Titan AE is better than Howl's Moving Castle or anything Disney makes? I just do. What can I say? I love a space adventure, and Akima is no Disney princess. First off, she's a woman of color that doesn't get transformed into an animal for the whole movie. She is the action girl trope done right. She shoots guns, her hair is short and a crazy color, she gets shot and is completely unfazed by Kale's dong in the opening scenes. So yeah, Akima makes this movie great. Plus, Corso brings that thickness. I mean, Titan AE was a huge departure from the animated stuff from that time. It was practically an adult animated movie. Around those years, the only adult animated movie was Heavy Metal 2000, and the storyline behind that movie was paper thin. But it's heavy metal, so I wasn't really expecting anything super cerebral. Titan AE actually has a plot. I know people who know my DeviantArt and been watching my gallery and known me for years are expecting me to like Treasure Planet more, but spoiler alert, it doesn't make this list at all. Simply because Titan AE came out first, and I know, Clemens and Musker had the idea for Treasure Planet way back in the 80s, but with Titan AE out there first, you'd think they'd take a gander at it and change their story so it didn't mimic Titan. Titan and Treasure Planet are damn near the same movie, and if you don't believe me, let me explain the plot of one. A troublesome but misunderstood young man longs for something more from his life, but is stuck in a rut until he discovers a map that leads to a great payoff. He travels along with a courageous female, a brainy alien, and his sort of father figure to get that payoff, only to be double-crossed by the one man he sort of trusts. The courageous female gets injured, the payoff is almost destroyed, only for the sort of father figure to come through in a clutch and save him in the end. That's both of them. I just described both of those movies. I digress. I really love Titan AE for the mix of 2D and 3D animation, and how they really tried to break out of that animation is only for kids rut. Like, do more of that. More of this and less of that other bullshit. Number 6. Mask of the Phantasm. So it's no secret that Batman 92, or Batman the Animated Series, is what got me into comic book characters in the first place. Mask of the Phantasm tried the same thing that Titan AE did. They tried to depart that animation is for kids rut, and I really, really loved this movie, even though I was a kid when it came out. My copy of the VHS came with a comic book version of the movie, and you guessed it, the comic was the same size as my own comic is today. Get a legal tender only in my Square store. Get all 6 issues in happy hour. Buy it now. This movie influenced nearly every aspect of how I draw and write. Bruce Timm's stylized drawing style was amazing. Coming off the bulky 80s He-Man and awkward animation of G.I. Joe and all those others, Mask of the Phantasm was sleek and gorgeous. Like, I didn't know Batman ever had a girlfriend that didn't want to kill him. Yeah, Andrea was awesome. She kicked the Joker in the dick. Mark Hamill's laugh at the end as the world of the future is exploding around them is just the best. The best Joker laugh he has ever done. Hands down, bar none. And I know there are newer Batman animated movies. Under the Red Hood is also great, but it just doesn't hold a candle to Mask of the Phantasm. It just doesn't. I love it, but Mask of the Phantasm will always be the height right there. Number 5. Advent Children. Final Fantasy VII was and will always be my favorite Final Fantasy. When the Final Fantasy movie came out and it was an uncanny valley nightmare of a snooze fest, I lost hope for the franchise, but then Square decided to stunt and came out with Advent Children, and it was everything that boring ass Final Fantasy movie was supposed to be. Just beautifully animated, and it came out 15 years ago. It still outpaces Pixar. This movie is so gorgeous that I originally watched it from an eBay copy with terribly inaccurate subtitles. Every time the character said guys or everyone, the subtitles would say gays. It was like some kind of weird bootleg. The back cover was not in English. I don't know where the hell it came from. The only sentence it got right was, "Rude, you're so cool." I finally broke down and bought the English dub a few years ago, and it's still great. I included the animation for this movie in a presentation when I was in college. It made me love and then hate Sephiroth all over again. Remembering how outstanding this movie was kept me excited for remake. I've never stayed excited for anything for 15 years. Number 4. Justice League: Crisis of Two Earths. I know I just said Mask of the Phantasm was the peak, but this is Justice League, so don't count. Shut up. It had been so long since Mask of the Phantasm. Hell, the Justice League cartoon had kind of petered out, and I think the only thing DC had out at the time was the 2014 Titans, and then, oh man, DC came out with Crisis of Two Earths, and I thought, how in the hell are they going to condense the entire Crisis into one movie? Well, it's right there in the title. Crisis on only two Earths. Just the two. Not the whole universe. Not that whole debacle that comic series was. So it's like that episode of the Justice League cartoon, A Better World. Yeah, it's like that episode cranked to 1075. Again, Bruce Timm wants to break free of that animation is for kids rut. I think some animation is for kids. Not all animation is for kids. Bruce Timm is dedicated to making animated movies for adult comic book fans, and I love him for it. Thanks, Bruce, because Crisis of Two Earths, Under the Red Hood, and Justice League Dark are things I need in my life. Not Judas Contract. Never that. Never Judas Contract. Take that nightgown scene and burn it with fire. Crisis wasn't the first DC animated movie, but to this day, it's the best. Simply because Superwoman and Owlman and how they're basically just fucking crazy. They're both crazy. Like, she's down to destroy the universe with this man. Like, how good is that dick? Like, I want to know. Moving on. Number 3. Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust. This movie is 20 years old. That knowledge blows my mind. Like, I got it when it first came out, but I cannot believe that was 20 years ago. Dating myself here. It was 20 damn years ago. It came out in 2000. And I can't believe that. That blows my mind because it's still the most beautiful anime I have ever seen, bar none. What a crime that D has not had more movies. There's only 2, and the first one is so ugly, it hurts. Well, the studio that did Bloodlust must have known the first one was ugly and said, hey, hell no, make everyone hot. Put your entire heart and soul into the production of this. The character details, the backgrounds, the fight scenes. It's like they knew this was their one shot because D hasn't gotten another movie since then. Honestly, he doesn't need one because Bloodlust has stood the test of time. In fact, I feel like Netflix's Castlevania draws a lot of inspiration from Bloodlust. The castles are nearly identical, and it also makes sense because D and Alucard are both half vampire sons of the Vampire King. In fact, I'm writing a story about it, but that's a video for another day. Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust is great. Best anime ever. You can fight me. Number 2, The Prince of Egypt. This movie is god tier. Pun intended. There can be miracles if you believe that 2D animation can be this gorgeous. See, before Shrek, DreamWorks actually tried. The very fact that they made the characters racially accurate speaks volumes even to this day. I don't care that they're all voiced by white people. That is the non-factor because you don't see them white faces. You see brown faces in this movie. The fact is, the story of Moses takes place in Egypt. Egypt is in Africa. All of the characters in this movie have darker skin, thick ass hair. Those are Egyptians. Those are Hebrews. As someone descended from Portuguese, Jewish, and Black people, I appreciate everything about this movie, including the fact that it was made by mostly white people. I love that they did that. Like, they didn't have to do that. They could have made it. They could have whitewashed the shit out of it like they always do, but they didn't. I love that I love that it wasn't whitewashed. I love that it wasn't another whitewashed retelling of the Ten Commandments. And I'm not even into religious stuff like that. But there's something about the story of Moses. Like I said, it speaks to both of my heritages and looks absolutely amazing even after all this time. Disney could never, and let's be real, Disney would never make the story. They would never make a story about Jews. It took them an eternity to include Black people. Can you imagine a Disney princess singing in Hebrew? Yeah, neither can they. Ashira Anadonai. Number one. This is my number one anime movie as of today. Maybe forever. You know, because let's be real, ain't that many anime movies coming out that are that good. But here's my number one. And it is Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Show of hands who actually thought this movie wouldn't be my number one. Are you kidding? It's about a mixed kid getting superpowers. That's legit what my comic Illegal Tender is about. It's basically the premise of all of my favorite comics. This movie took me by complete and utter surprise. After all the friggin' Spider-Man movies, according to Elizabeth Banks, there's over 100, I never thought they'd ever, that they'd even consider making one about Miles. And man, did they shoot their shot with this movie. The story, the character designs, all that beautiful detail in an already crazy good animation. The occasional visible word popping up with actions. If you don't like this movie, then there is no pleasing you and you're just a hating ass hater. Everyone is represented accurately. Everyone is a badass. The different types of styles somehow fitting together. The crazy colors, that comic halftone thrown in. Every time I watch it, I notice something new. I'm a step away from pausing every scene just so I can see more and more of it. From the first preview, I immediately called my best friend and told her we're going to see this opening night. And it did not disappoint. It never disappoints. Other studios could never. Disney and Pixar are going to be trying for years to play catch up with Spiderverse in animation and story cohesion. This movie is my go-to when people ask me, what's your favorite? It's all I can think about. It makes me want to actually use my degree and get a job in animation. Almost. Okay, here's the end result of what I was drawing. It's Al and Sue taking a walk on the beach. And if you're wondering why he's so surprised, it's because he's partially blind and can't see. Hopefully these two will make it to an animated form or even a comic book form one day. But for now, you can buy my other comic book, Illegal Tender, in my store. Links in the description below. That's it for this week's video. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt, Wattpad, and Tumblr because I'm Musashden here, there, and everywhere. Thanks for watching.